in the quiet hours when the world grows still, when the last light of day fades into Memorithere, is a place where ancient wisdom meets the gentle embrace of sleep. Tonight, we walk together down a moonlit path where cherry blossoms drift like whispered prayers, and each step carries us deeper into the heart of eternal truth. Before we begin this gentle journey into the nature of impermanence, if you find comfort in these calming wisdom stories, feel free to subscribe, give this video a like, and gently share in the comments where in the world you're listening from tonight. Let us know if you're curled up in bed in London, watching stars in Tokyo, or finding peace in New York. We are all connected in this moment of seeking rest and understanding. Imagine, if you will, an ancient monastery nestled in misty mountains. The air is soft with the scent of jasmine and burning incense. A lone monk walks slowly along a stone path, his footsteps barely disturbing the fallen petals beneath his feet. Each blossom that has fallen tells a story of beauty that arrived, flourished, and gracefully departed. Nothing clings. Nothing resists. Everything flows with the natural rhythm of existence. Tonight, we explore together one of life's most profound teachings, why nothing is permanent, and how embracing this truth can set us free. Let the gentle wisdom of Buddha's path cradle you as you drift towards sleep, carrying with you the understanding that even in constant change, there is perfect peace. Asterisk, asterisk. What is the sound of peace before thought arises? What remains when we stop grasping at the flowing river of experience? These questions drift through the night air like incense smoke, not demanding answers, but inviting us into a deeper stillness. Picture a still pond at dawn. The surface mirrors the sky perfectly until a single leaf falls, creating ripples that spread outward in ever-widening circles. The leaf doesn't cling to the water doesn't resist the leaf. Both simply dance together in the moment of contact, then part ways naturally. This is the first teaching about impermanence. Everything that arises must pass away, and in this passing, there is no tragedy, only the natural flow of existence. We spend so much of our lives trying to hold onto things, moments of happiness, the warmth of a loved one's touch, the security of familiar routines. We build walls around our treasures, forgetting that walls cannot hold the wind. We clutch tightly to experiences, not realizing that our very grasping changes them into something else entirely. But what if we learn to love like the cherry tree loves its blossoms, offering them freely to the world, knowing they will fall when their time comes, yet never ceasing to bloom again when spring returns? What if we could hold our joys lightly, like cupping water in our palms, appreciating its coolness while understanding it will eventually flow away? The Buddha once sat beneath a tree, watching the play of light and shadow on the ground. As clouds passed overhead, the patterns shifted constantly. Light became shadow. Shadow became light. Neither tried to become permanent. Neither fought against its nature. In this simple observation, he glimpsed something profound. The very essence of existence is change itself, and fighting this truth is the root of all suffering. Tonight, as you rest, let yourself become like that play of light and shadow. Let your thoughts arise and pass away without grasping. Let your breath flow in and out like gentle waves on a peaceful shore. Notice how each moment is complete in itself, needing nothing added, nothing taken away. This is the beginning of understanding impermanence, not as loss, but as the very nature of life's dance. In a monastery far away, bells chime softly in the evening air. Each note rises, resonates, and fades into silence. The silence is not empty. It's full of infinite possibility for the next note to arise. Between each breath you take, between each heartbeat, lies this same pregnant silence, this same openness to what comes next. Asterisk, asterisk, 2,500 years ago, beneath the spreading branches of a Bodhi tree, a young prince named Siddhartha made, a discovery that would illuminate the path for millions. He saw clearly that all conditioned existence is marked by three characteristics: impermanence, suffering, and non-self. But tonight, we focus on the first and perhaps most fundamental, anicca, the truth of impermanence. The Buddha taught that recognizing impermanence is like watching clouds in the sky. At first, we might feel sad watching beautiful formations dissolve. But gradually, we begin to appreciate the very process of transformation. We see that the cloud hasn't gone anywhere. It has become rain, which becomes rivers, which becomes the ocean, which becomes vapor, which becomes clouds again. Nothing is ever truly lost. Everything is constantly becoming something else. This understanding brings profound relief. When we're suffering, we remember, this too shall pass. When we're clinging to pleasure, we remember, this too shall pass. When we're afraid of change, we remember, change is not the enemy of peace, it is peace itself, flowing like a river that never fights its banks. In the Zen tradition, there's a beautiful practice called just sitting shikantaza. We sit quietly and let everything arise and pass away naturally. Thoughts come and go like visitors in a meditation hall. We neither welcome them nor push them away. We simply observe the coming and going, the arising and passing, the endless dance of impermanence happening within our own awareness. The Heart Sutra, one of Buddhism's most beloved texts, whispers to us, form is emptiness, emptiness is form. This doesn't mean things don't exist, but rather that they exist in constant relationship, constant change, constant flow. Like a river that is never the same river twice, our lives are streams of consciousness flowing through the landscape of time. Master Dogen, the founder of Soto Zen, taught that we don't practice meditation to achieve enlightenment. We practice because we are already enlightened, already part of the flowing, changing, perfect as it is reality. We sit not to become something else, but to realize what we already are, temporary arrangements of consciousness, here for a brief moment to experience the wonder of existence. The Vietnamese Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh spoke of interbeing, the understanding that nothing exists independently. A flower is made of non-flower elements: sunshine, rain, earth, the gardener's care. When we look deeply into anything, we see the whole universe dancing within it. And when it changes or passes away, it doesn't disappear, it transforms into something else, still part of the infinite web of existence. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, remember that you are not separate from this dance of impermanence. Your body is constantly changing, your breath is constantly flowing, your thoughts are constantly arising and passing away. You are not watching impermanence from the outside, you are impermanence, temporarily arranged in the beautiful pattern. That is your life. Asterisk, asterisk. In a small temple in the mountains of Tibet, there lived an old monk named Tenzin. His hair was white as fresh snow, his eyes crinkled with decades of gentle smiles, and his hands moved with the deliberate grace of someone who had learned to find eternity in each moment. Every morning, he would tend to a small garden behind the temple, where he grew chrysanthemums that bloomed in magnificent colors each autumn. One crisp morning, a young monk approached Tenzin as he was carefully watering his flowers. The garden was in full bloom: golden yellows, deep purples, brilliant whites, creating a tapestry of beauty that seemed to glow in the early light. The young monk had been struggling with his meditation, troubled by the constant arising and passing of thoughts, frustrated by his inability to hold on to moments of peace. "Venerable Tenzin," the young monk said, his voice carrying the weight of his confusion, "I understand intellectually that all things are impermanent, but my heart still aches when beautiful moments pass away. How do you tend these flowers knowing they will die? How do you love something that is temporary?" The old monk continued his watering, a gentle smile playing at the corners of his mouth. He gestured toward a particularly magnificent chrysanthemum, its petals catching the morning light like golden silk. "Come, sit with me," he said softly, settling onto a smooth stone beside the flower bed. "Let me share what the flowers have taught me." As they sat together in comfortable silence, watching the play of light and shadow across the garden, Tenzin began to speak in his characteristic slow, thoughtful manner. "When I was young, like you, I believed that loving something meant holding on to it forever. I would press flowers between the pages of books, trying to preserve their beauty. But pressed flowers, though they keep their shape, lose their essence. They become brittle, lifeless replicas of what they once were." The young monk listened intently, watching how Tenzin's weathered hands moved gently through the air as he spoke, like a conductor guiding an invisible orchestra of wisdom. "One autumn," Tenzin continued, "I was devastated watching my first garden fade. I had poured my heart into those flowers, and seeing them wither felt like a personal failure. I went to my teacher, old Master Lobsang, carrying my grief like a heavy stone. He listened to my lament about the cruelty of impermanence, nodding with infinite patience. A soft breeze stirred the garden, causing several petals to drift slowly to the ground like gentle rain. The young monk watched them fall, and for a moment, instead of sadness, he felt something like wonder. Master Lobsang took me to the compost pile behind the temple," Tenzin said, his eyes twinkling with the memory. He knelt down and took a handful of rich, dark earth in his palms. "Do you know what this is?" he asked. I told him it was soil for planting. "Look deeper," he said. "This is last year's flowers, transformed. This is last year's autumn leaves, becoming next spring's garden. Nothing is lost. Everything is becoming." The old monk paused, allowing the teaching to settle like seeds in fertile ground. He helped me understand that my attachment to the permanent form of the flowers was preventing me from seeing their true nature. The beauty of a flower is not in its ability to last forever, but in its willingness to express itself completely in the time it has. As if summoned by the story, a butterfly landed on the chrysanthemum they had been observing. Its wings moved, gently, iridescent in the morning light, as it danced from flower to flower. Neither monk spoke, both absorbed in watching this perfect demonstration of impermanence in action. The butterfly's visit brief but complete, the flowers offering their nectar freely, knowing this too would pass. I learned to love my flowers differently after that, Tenzin said, as the butterfly disappeared into the morning sky. Instead of trying to make them permanent, I began to appreciate their temporariness. I noticed how each day brought subtle changes: buds forming, petals opening, colors deepening. I began to see that impermanence wasn't the enemy of beauty. It was the very thing that made beauty possible. The young monk felt something shift in his chest, like a knot gently loosening. "But how do you bear it when they finally fade?" Tenzin smiled and pointed to a section of the garden where new shoots were emerging from the earth. "Do you see those green tips pushing through the soil? Those are next year's flowers, fed by this year's fading blooms. When I see my chrysanthemums begin to fade, I don't mourn their ending, I celebrate their transformation. They are becoming the very ground from which new life will spring." The two monks sat in companionable silence as the sun climbed higher, painting the garden in ever-changing patterns of light and shadow. The young monk began to understand that his struggle with impermanence was like trying to hold water in his cupped hands. The tighter he gripped, the more it slipped away. But if he held his hands open, the water could flow through freely, while still blessing him with its coolness. "The secret," Tenzin said softly, as if reading his thoughts, "is not to love less because things are temporary, but to love more completely because they are. When we truly understand impermanence, we stop taking our time for granted. We stop postponing gratitude. We stop waiting for the perfect moment to express our appreciation, because we realize that every moment is perfect exactly as it is. As the morning deepened, the old monk rose slowly and began to gather some of the fallen petals. "These will go to the compost," he said, "where they will begin their next adventure. And tomorrow, we will water the garden again, tend the soil, and watch for new growth." This is the practice of impermanence, not clinging to what was, not anxiously awaiting what will be, but fully engaging with what is. The young monk felt a deep peace settling over him like a warm blanket. In that garden, surrounded by flowers that bloomed and faded in their own time, he glimpsed something profound: the beauty of letting go, the grace of natural cycles, and the profound love that can only exist when we stop trying to make temporary things permanent. That evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, the young monk found himself in the meditation hall, no longer fighting the arising and passing of thoughts. Instead, he watched them come and go like Tenzin's flowers, each one beautiful in its own way, each one playing its part in the garden of consciousness, each one returning to the silence from which it emerged. *** Now, as the story of the garden settles into your heart like seeds in fertile soil, let us turn our attention inward. Take a gentle breath, and with each exhale, allow yourself to sink deeper into the soft embrace of this moment. You are not just hearing about impermanence, you are experiencing it with every breath, every heartbeat, every subtle shift in your awareness. Close your eyes softly, like curtains being drawn across a window at twilight. Feel the weight of your body against the surface beneath you. Notice how even this feeling of weight is not solid or permanent. It shifts and changes with each breath, each small movement, each moment of awareness. Begin to notice your breathing, not to control it, but simply to observe it with the same gentle attention that Tenzin gave to his flowers. Each inhale is a small birth, each exhale a small death. Between each breath is a moment of stillness, a gap where the old breath has passed away and the new breath has not yet arrived. In this gap, you can taste the essence of impermanence itself, not as something to be feared, but as the very space in which life dances. Your thoughts, too, are like visitors in the garden of your mind. Some are like bright flowers, beautiful, pleasant, worthy of appreciation. Others are like weeds, unwanted, uncomfortable, seemingly out of place. But the wise gardener knows that both flowers and weeds are part of the natural cycle. Neither is permanent. Both arise from the same earth. Both return to the same earth. Watch your thoughts now with the curiosity of a child observing clouds. See how they form in the sky of your awareness, take shape, drift across the landscape of your mind, and dissolve back into the blue emptiness from which they came. You are not your thoughts. You are the sky in which they appear and disappear. Each breath, you become more like water fluid, adaptable, taking the shape of whatever container holds you, while never losing your essential nature. Water doesn't resist the rocks in the riverbed. It flows around them, gradually wearing them smooth. Your awareness can become like this water, flowing around the obstacles of resistance, the boulders of attachment, the fallen logs of fear. Feel your heartbeat now, that steady rhythm that has been with you since before you were born. Each beat is a small impermanence, a contraction followed by a release, a systole followed by a diastole. Your heart doesn't cling to each beat. It simply moves to the next one, trusting in the natural rhythm of existence. Let your whole being pulse with this same trust, this same willingness to let each moment arise and pass away in its own time. Notice how your body is constantly changing, even as you lie still. Cells are dying and being reborn. Breath is flowing in and out. Blood is circulating. Thoughts are arising and passing. You are not a static thing, but a dynamic process, a river of consciousness flowing through the landscape of time and space. In this flowing, there is profound peace. You don't have to hold on to anything, because everything is already held by the vast embrace of existence itself. You don't have to make anything permanent, because the very impermanence of all things is what allows new beauty to constantly emerge. Let yourself drift deeper now, like a leaf falling gently from a tree. You are not falling into emptiness. You are falling into fullness, into the rich compost of awareness, where all experiences transform into wisdom. Each worry that arises can be welcomed like a guest, offered tea, and then gently released when it's ready to leave. Your body is becoming lighter, more spacious, as if you are made of moonlight and gentle breezes. Your breath is becoming softer, more effortless, like the natural breathing of a sleeping child. You are not trying to achieve anything, not trying to become anything other than what you already are, a temporary arrangement of consciousness, here for a brief moment to experience the wonder of being alive. In this spaciousness, you begin to understand what the Buddha meant when he spoke of no self. You are not disappearing. You are discovering that what you truly are is much vaster than you imagine. You are the awareness in which all experiences arise and pass away. You are the silence between thoughts, the space between breaths, the stillness at the center of all movement. Rest in this understanding now, like a bird settling into its nest at the end of a long day. You are home in the heart of impermanence, where nothing needs to be held onto because everything is already perfect as it is. Each moment is complete in itself, lacking nothing, needing nothing added or taken away. Asterisk, asterisk, in the gentle twilight of your awareness, let me share with you some of the hidden jewels of Buddhist wisdom teachings that sparkle like dewdrops on morning. Grass, simple yet profound, familiar yet surprising in their depth. There once was a Zen master who was famous for his unusual way of teaching. Students would come from far and wide to ask him profound questions about the nature of reality, expecting elaborate philosophical answers. But to every question, whether about the meaning of life, the path to enlightenment, or the nature of suffering, he would simply smile and pour tea. One day, a particularly persistent student asked him, "Master, why do you only smile? Why won't you give us the deep teachings?" The master paused in his tea pouring, looked directly at the student, and said, "This is the deep teaching. Everything else is just commentary." Asterisk, asterisk, what did he mean? In that moment of pouring tea, he was demonstrating the most profound truth of all, that enlightenment is not something exotic or far away, but something as simple and immediate as water flowing from a pot into a cup. The tea doesn't struggle to be tea. The water doesn't resist becoming tea. The cup doesn't question its purpose. Everything simply is what it is, completely and without apology. Here's a gentle surprise. The word Buddha doesn't mean perfect person or God. It simply means awakened one, someone who has woken up to what was always already present. You don't become a Buddha by achieving something you don't have. You become a Buddha by recognizing what you've always been. It's like a fish suddenly realizing it's been swimming in water all along. In the Zen tradition, there's a curious practice called beginner's mind, approaching every moment with fresh eyes, as if seeing it for the first time. Master Suki Roshi famously said, "In the beginner's mind there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind there are few." This isn't about being naive or ignorant. It's about being so present that you don't impose your past experiences or future expectations on what's happening right now. Consider this gentle paradox. The more you try to grasp enlightenment, the more it slips away. The more you try to force peace, the more agitated you become. The more you try to make yourself permanent, the more you suffer from impermanence. But the moment you stop trying to catch the butterfly of awakening, it might just land on your shoulder. There's a beautiful story about a monk who spent years in intensive meditation, seeking to understand the nature of emptiness. He practiced for hours each day, studied countless texts, and tortured himself with complex philosophical questions. One morning, exhausted and discouraged, he was walking in the monastery garden when he tripped over a root and fell flat on his face. In that moment of complete surprise, with his cheek pressed against the earth and his dignity scattered like fallen leaves, he suddenly burst into laughter. He had been seeking emptiness in his mind when it was right there in the simple fact of falling down, no self to protect, no image to maintain, just the immediate reality of earth and surprise, and the sound of his own laughter echoing through the garden. Here's another hidden truth. The Buddha's first teaching after his awakening wasn't about complex philosophy or exotic practices. It was about the Four Noble Truths, which are remarkably simple. Life contains suffering. Suffering comes from attachment. It's possible to end suffering, and there's a path to do so. But hidden within this simplicity is something revolutionary: the recognition that suffering is optional. Pain may be inevitable, but the suffering we create around pain is a choice we make moment by moment. The ancient texts speak of something called Buddha nature, the inherent potential for awakening that exists in every being. But here's the gentle surprise. It's not a potential that needs to be developed or earned. It's already complete, already present, already perfect. It's like a lamp that's always been shining, but we've been looking for light everywhere except where we are. In Japanese aesthetics, there's a concept called mono no aware, the bittersweet awareness of the impermanence of all things. It's the feeling you get when you see cherry blossoms falling, knowing their beauty is enhanced, not diminished, by their brief existence. This isn't sadness, it's a tender appreciation for the preciousness of temporary things. Every moment becomes more beautiful because you know it won't last forever. The Heart Sutra contains one of Buddhism's most famous paradoxes. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. This sounds impossibly abstract until you realize what it means. Everything you see, touch, and experience is real and present, yet it has no fixed, permanent essence. It's like a rainbow, undeniably beautiful and present, yet made of nothing but light and moisture, and the perfect conditions for its appearance. Here's a secret that many Buddhist teachers whisper. Enlightenment is not a destination you arrive at after years of practice. It's a recognition of what's already here, what's always been here, what could never be absent. It's like suddenly noticing that you've been breathing all along without effort or technique. The breath was always there. You just became aware of it. The great Zen master Huang Po taught something that sounds almost too simple to be true. Your everyday mind, that is the way. Not your special meditation mind, not your philosophical mind, not your trying to be spiritual mind, but the ordinary awareness that's reading these words right now, feeling the texture of your breath, hearing the sounds around you. This very awareness, exactly as it is already Buddha nature expressing itself. In Tibetan Buddhism, there's a practice called sky gazing, simply lying on your back and looking up at the open sky, letting your mind become as vast and spacious as what you're viewing. The instruction is beautifully simple. Mix your mind with the sky, not to become the sky, but to recognize that your awareness is already as open, as limitless, as accommodating as the sky itself. And here's perhaps the most surprising teaching of all. The goal of Buddhist practice is not to get rid of your humanity, but to become more fully human. Not to transcend your emotions, but to feel them completely without being consumed by them. Not to escape the world, but to engage with it more lovingly, more wisely, more completely. As you rest in this moment, surrounded by these gentle truths, remember that you don't need to understand them intellectually. Let them wash over you like warm water, seeping into your awareness not through your thinking mind, but through your feeling heart. You are already practicing Buddhism simply by being present, simply by breathing, simply by allowing this moment to be exactly as it is, without trying to change it into something else, not asterisk, asterisk, in the soft embrace of this night. Let us follow the gentle river of your breath as it flows through the landscape of your being. Each inhale is a small tide coming in, each exhale a small tide going out. You are not breathing. You are being breathed by the same force that moves the stars in their courses and causes flowers to bloom in their season. The Buddha taught that the breath is one of our most intimate teachers about impermanence. Unlike thoughts, which can be abstract and elusive, the breath is immediate and undeniable. It comes and goes without your permission, without your control, following rhythms older than your birth, older than your species, older than the mountains. Settle deeper into your breathing now, not trying to make it deeper or slower or more spiritual, but simply allowing it to be whatever it naturally wants to be. Notice how each breath is slightly different from the last, sometimes deeper, sometimes more shallow, sometimes smooth, sometimes with a tiny pause or catch. This is the body's wisdom expressing itself, adjusting to each moment's needs without consulting your conscious mind. In the ancient texts, there's a meditation called Anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing, but it's not about achieving any particular state or experience. It's about friendship with the breath, companionship with this most intimate process that connects you to the world around you. The air you breathe has been breathed by countless beings before you, by Buddha under the Bodhi tree, by Jesus in the garden, by your grandmother as she sang you lullabies, by the child who will be born tomorrow. As you breathe, you participate in the great circulation of life itself. The oxygen you inhale was released by trees and plants, given freely without expectation of return. The carbon dioxide you exhale will nourish those same plants, continuing the ancient dance of mutual support that has sustained life on this planet for millions of years. In this simple act of breathing, you are intimately connected to every living thing. Let your breath become like a gentle river flowing through the landscape of your body. Feel how it naturally flows to places of tension, bringing ease and softness. Notice how it carries away what you no longer need, not just carbon dioxide, but worry, resistance, the accumulated tension of the day. Each exhale is a small letting go, a small death that makes room for new life to enter. The breath teaches us something profound about impermanence. It shows us how to let go gracefully. Your body doesn't cling to each breath, trying to make it permanent. It receives what it needs, extracts what is useful, and releases what is no longer needed. This is the perfect model for how to live with impermanence, receiving each moment fully, appreciating its gifts, and releasing it when its time is finished. In the Zen tradition, there's a saying, "You are perfect as you are, and you could use a little improvement." This isn't a contradiction. It's pointing to the dynamic nature of existence. Each breath is perfect as it is, complete in itself, needing nothing added or taken away. Yet each breath also creates the conditions for the next breath, participating in the endless process of change and renewal. Feel how your breath connects you to this very moment. You cannot breathe yesterday's air or tomorrow's air. You can only breathe the air that is here right now. In this way, the breath is a constant invitation to presence, a gentle but persistent teacher, always calling you back to the immediacy of now. As you continue to breathe, notice how the breath creates a natural rhythm of expansion and contraction, receiving and releasing, gathering and letting go. This is the rhythm of the universe itself. Stars are born and die, tides come in and go out, seasons change in their eternal cycle. Your breath is your personal participation in this cosmic dance. Let your breathing become slower and more spacious now, like a river widening as it approaches the sea. Don't force this, simply allow it to happen naturally, the way a flower opens in the morning sun. Each breath is bringing you deeper into peace, deeper into the natural state of relaxation that is your birthright. Asterisk. In the gaps between breaths, that small pause after you exhale and before you inhale, you can taste the essence of meditation itself. It's not empty space, but pregnant space, full of potential, full of the same awareness that watches thoughts come and go, that observes sensations arise and pass away. This awareness is like the sky, always present, always spacious, always accommodating whatever weather patterns move through it. Your breath is also a bridge between the voluntary and involuntary aspects of your being. You can choose to breathe consciously, yet it continues even when you're not thinking about it. It represents the perfect balance between effort and effortlessness, between doing and being, between your personal will and the larger intelligence that animates all life. As you breathe, you are practicing the deepest teaching of Buddhism without studying a single text or learning a single technique. You are learning to be present, to let go, to trust the natural wisdom of your body, to participate in the flowing nature of existence without resistance. Each breath is a small enlightenment, a small awakening to the miracle of being alive. Now, let your breath carry you deeper into rest, deeper into the natural state of peace that needs no maintenance, no effort, no special conditions. You are being breathed by the same force that breathes through all living things. And in this breathing, you are home. Asterisk, asterisk, in the deepening quiet of this peaceful night, imagine yourself as a mountain, not the restless, striving mountain that reaches desperately toward the sky, but the ancient, settled mountain that has learned the secret of perfect stillness. You are rooted deep in the earth, yet your peak touches the clouds. You are solid yet spacious, permanent yet constantly changing with the play of light and weather across your slopes. The Buddha often spoke of the mind like a mountain lake clear, still, perfectly reflecting whatever appears on its surface without being disturbed by what it reflects. When a bird flies overhead, the lake shows the bird. When the bird passes, the lake returns to showing the empty sky. The lake doesn't chase after the bird or try to hold on to the image. It simply reflects whatever is present with perfect clarity and perfect equanimity. Your awareness is like this mountain lake. Thoughts arise and pass across the surface like clouds drifting across the sky. Emotions come and go like weather patterns, storms that seem overwhelming when they arrive, yet always pass in their own time. Sensations appear and dissolve like ripples on still water. Through it all, the essential stillness remains undisturbed. In the Zen tradition, there's a beautiful image called the mountain that walks. At first, this seems like a contradiction. How can a mountain walk? But the mountain walks through time, through seasons, through the slow dance of geological change. It walks as rain becomes rivers, as rivers carve valleys, as valleys fill with forests, as forests become meadows. The mountain appears permanent, yet it's constantly participating in the flowing dance of existence. You are like this walking mountain. Your body appears solid and permanent, yet it's constantly changing, cells dying and being reborn, atoms being exchanged with the environment, breath flowing in and out. Your thoughts and emotions appear and disappear like clouds around a peak. Your experiences come and go like seasons. Yet through it all, something remains constant, the witnessing awareness that observes all these changes without being changed by them. Settle deeper into this mountain-like stillness now. Feel your body becoming heavier, more rooted, as if you're settling into bedrock that has been stable for millions of years. Yet within this stability, there's tremendous space caves and caverns of consciousness, vast inner landscapes where thoughts echo and fade into silence. The mountain doesn't need to do anything to be magnificent. It doesn't strain to be taller or worry about being impressive. It simply is what it is, completely and without apology. In the same way, you don't need to do anything to be worthy of peace, worthy of rest, worthy of love. You are already complete, already perfect, already home in the vast stillness of your own being. In Buddhist meditation, there's a practice called just sitting shikantaza in Japanese. It's not sitting in order to achieve anything, but sitting as an expression of your already complete Buddha nature. The mountain doesn't meditate. It simply is itself so completely that its presence becomes a teaching. You don't need to become peaceful. You need only to recognize the peace that's already here, buried beneath the surface activity of your mind, like groundwater beneath the earth. As you rest in this mountain-like stillness, notice how thoughts arise and pass away without disturbing your essential nature. They're like weather patterns moving across the mountain's face, sometimes gentle spring rain, sometimes fierce winter storms, sometimes the clear brightness of a summer day. The mountain doesn't resist any weather. It simply allows everything to pass through while remaining itself. Feel how your breath naturally slows and deepens when you embody this mountain consciousness. There's no urgency, no need to be anywhere else or be anyone else. You have all the time in the world because you have discovered the timeless dimension within time, the eternal now that exists in the heart of every moment. The Buddha taught that our suffering comes from our constant movement, always wanting to be somewhere else, always trying to become something other than what we are. But the mountain teaches us about the profound peace that comes from complete acceptance of where we are. Not passive resignation, but active presence, fully engaging with whatever is happening while remaining rooted in the unshakable stillness of our deepest nature. In the silence between your thoughts, you can feel this mountain-like quality of your awareness. It's not empty silence, but pregnant silence, full of potential, full of the same vast spaciousness that holds all the stars in their courses. You are not small and separate. You are as vast as the sky, as stable as the earth, as flowing as water, as transformative as fire. Let yourself sink deeper into this mountain meditation now. Feel how you're supported from below by the earth, how you're blessed from above by the sky, how you're nourished from all directions by the air you breathe. You are not isolated. You are intimately connected to everything around you, yet you remain yourself, unique and irreplaceable. The mountain changes constantly, yet remains itself. Snow falls and melts, seasons change, forests grow and recede, yet the mountain's essential nature is unchanging. In the same way, you can experience all the changes of life, joy and sorrow, gain and loss, youth and age, while remaining rooted in the changeless awareness that you truly are. As you continue to settle into this mountain-like stillness, you begin to understand what the old masters meant when they spoke of original face, not the face you show to the world, but the face you had before you were born, the face you'll have after you die. It's the face of pure awareness, the face of Buddha nature, the face of the mountain that watches all weather pass without being disturbed. In this stillness, you are not trying to stop your thoughts or achieve any particular state. You are simply being what you already are: vast, peaceful, accommodating, present. Like the mountain, you are a refuge for all who seek rest, a symbol of stability in a world of constant change, a teacher of the profound peace that comes from complete acceptance of what is. Rest now in this mountain consciousness, solid yet spacious, grounded yet open, eternal yet fully present in this moment. You are the mountain, and the mountain is you, and in this recognition there is perfect peace. Asterisk, asterisk, from the solid stillness of the mountain, let us now flow into the vast embracing depths of the ocean of compassion that is both your deepest nature and the very heart of Buddhist wisdom. If the mountain teaches us about stability and presence, the ocean teaches us about the boundless love that includes everything, rejects nothing, and flows endlessly toward all beings. Buddha spoke of compassion not as an emotion that comes and goes, but as the natural response of wisdom to suffering. When you truly understand that all beings are interconnected, that separation is an illusion, that we are all waves in the same vast ocean of existence, then compassion arises as naturally as water flowing downhill. Imagine yourself now as this ocean, not the surface ocean that is sometimes calm and sometimes stormy, but the deep ocean that remains peaceful regardless of what happens above. In the depths, there is eternal silence, eternal peace, eternal compassion. The storms of the surface world, your worries, your fears, your anger, your sadness, these are real, but they cannot disturb the fundamental peace that rests in the depths of your being. The ocean doesn't choose which rivers to accept. It welcomes all waters equally. The mountain stream brings its clarity. The muddy river brings its silt. The underground spring brings its minerals. All are transformed by the ocean's embrace. All become part of the same vast body of water. Your compassion can be like this. Ocean accepting all aspects of yourself and others without judgment, transforming everything through the power of unconditional love. Asterisk, asterisk. In the Buddhist tradition, there's a practice called loving kindness meditation, metta in Pali. It begins with extending love to yourself, then gradually expanding that love to include loved ones, neutral people, difficult people, and finally all beings everywhere. But this isn't about generating an emotion you don't feel. It's about recognizing the love that's already there, like recognizing the ocean that's already present beneath the waves that feel into your heart now. That soft space in the center of your chest where emotions live. Notice how it naturally wants to open, to soften, to include rather than exclude. This isn't something you need to create. It's something you need to uncover, like clearing away the debris from a natural spring to let the water flow freely. The Vietnamese Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh taught about the Bodhisattva vow, the commitment to delay one's own final liberation until all beings are free from suffering. This might sound like an impossible task, but it points to a profound truth. You cannot be truly happy while others suffer, because at the deepest level, there are no others. The wave cannot be separate from the ocean. The drop cannot be separate from the rain dot. As you rest in this ocean of compassion, begin to send loving kindness to yourself first. This is not selfish, it's practical. You cannot give what you don't have, cannot share what you haven't received. Say softly to yourself, either aloud or in the silence of your heart, may I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be free from suffering. May I be at ease. Feel how these words create a gentle warmth in your heart, like sunlight on water. This is not a prayer to some external deity. It's a recognition of what you already deserve, simply by virtue of being alive. You don't need to earn peace, achieve happiness, or become worthy of love. These are your birthright, as natural as the ocean's rhythm, as inevitable as the tide. Now let this loving kindness flow naturally to someone you love, perhaps a family member, a dear friend, a beloved pet. Picture them in your mind's eye, not as they appear on the surface, but as they truly are beneath their struggles and masks, as pure awareness, as Buddha nature, as another wave in the same ocean of existence. Send them the same gentle wishes. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be free from suffering. May you be at ease. Notice how offering love to others doesn't diminish your own peace. It actually deepens it. This is the miracle of Vav, compassion. It multiplies when shared, grows when given away, becomes more real the more it's expressed. You are not a limited container trying to portion out scarce resources. You are an infinite ocean with limitless capacity for love. Let your compassion flow now to someone neutral, perhaps a cashier you encountered recently, a neighbor you barely know, a stranger you passed on the street. These anonymous beings are also struggling with impermanence, also seeking happiness, also deserving of peace. In their eyes, you might see the same longing for understanding that you carry in your own heart. The ocean doesn't judge the rivers that flow into it. It simply receives them all with equal grace. Your compassion can be like this ocean, accepting all beings regardless of their current state, their past actions, their present struggles. This doesn't mean approving of harmful behavior. It means recognizing the suffering that underlies all harmful actions and responding with wisdom rather than reactive anger. No. In the spirit of true bodhisattva practice, let your loving kindness flow towards someone who has been difficult in your life, perhaps someone who has hurt you, disappointed you, or triggered your anger. This is not about condoning their actions or becoming a doormat. It's about freeing yourself from the poison of resentment. As the Buddha taught, hatred is never ended by hatred, but by love alone. See this difficult person as another wave in the ocean of existence, temporarily caught in patterns that cause suffering for themselves and others. Their hurtful actions arise from their own pain, their own confusion, their own disconnection from their true nature. Sending them loving kindness is like the ocean accepting a polluted river, not to approve of the pollution, but to transform it through the power of unconditional acceptance. Finally, let your compassion expand to include all beings everywhere, all humans struggling with the challenges of existence, all animals seeking shelter and food, all plants reaching toward the light, all forms of life participating in the great dance of becoming. Feel how your heart naturally wants to include everything, exclude nothing, embrace all of existence with the same unconditional love that the ocean shows to all the waters that flow into it in this vast embrace. You begin to understand what the mystics mean when they speak of universal love. It's not the emotion you feel toward specific objects. It's the very fabric of existence itself, the force that holds the universe together, the reason why anything exists at all. You are not separate from this love. You are this love temporarily, arranged in the beautiful pattern that is your individual life. As you rest in this ocean of compassion, feel how it naturally carries you deeper into peace. Love is not agitated. It's the most relaxing force in the universe. When you stop fighting against existence and start embracing it with your whole heart, everything becomes effortless. Everything becomes a gift. Everything becomes a teacher, pointing you toward the love that you already are. Asterisk, asterisk, in the gentle depths of the ocean of compassion, we discover something both mysterious and liberating, the dance of emptiness. But this is not the emptiness of absence, not the hollow feeling of something missing. This is the emptiness that the Buddha spoke of, Anyat in Sanskrit, the spaciousness that allows everything to exist, the openness that makes all experience possible. Think of a flute, how its music arises not from the wood or metal, but from the empty space within. Without that hollowness, there would be no song. The flute's emptiness is not a lack, it's the very condition that allows beauty to emerge. In the same way, the emptiness of your true nature is not a void, but the spacious awareness in which all thoughts, emotions, and experiences can arise. And dance. As you rest in this deep peace, begin to notice the spaciousness of your own awareness. Where do your thoughts appear? They seem to arise from nowhere, linger for a moment in the space of consciousness, then dissolve back into the same mysterious nowhere. This space, this aware emptiness is always present, always unchanged. Whether your thoughts are pleasant or unpleasant, many or few. The great Buddhist teacher Nagarjuna taught that everything exists in dependence upon everything else. Nothing has independent, permanent existence. The flower depends on the seed, the soil, the rain, the sun, the gardener. The seed depends on the previous flower, the earth, the seasons, countless conditions. When you look for the flower's essential nature, you find not a solid thing, but a web of relationships, a dance of interdependence. You too are such a dance. Your body is made of food that came from the earth, water that fell as rain, air that was breathed by trees. Your thoughts are made of language learned from others, concepts inherited from your culture, experiences shaped by countless encounters. Your emotions arise in response to conditions, change with circumstances, dissolve when their causes are no longer present. This is not a teaching to understand intellectually, but a reality to feel into gently. As you breathe, notice how the boundary between inside and outside begins to soften. The air you breathe becomes part of you, then returns to the world. Where do you end and the world begin? The more closely you look, the more the boundaries blur, like mist dissolving in morning sunlight. In Zen, there's a famous question: what is the sound of one hand clapping? This isn't a riddle to solve with logic, but a pointer to the empty nature of all phenomena. Clapping requires two hands coming together. It's a relationship, not a thing. In the same way, all experiences arise from the coming together of conditions, exist in the space between subject and object, and dissolve when those conditions change. Feel into this emptiness now, not as something frightening or nihilistic, but as the most intimate aspect of your being. It's the space in which you think, the silence in which sounds arise, the stillness in which movement occurs. You are not separate from this emptiness. You are this emptiness, temporarily appearing as a unique pattern of consciousness. The Heart Sutra, one of Buddhism's most profound texts, declares, "Form is emptiness, emptiness is form." This isn't philosophical speculation, but direct description of what you can experience right now. Your body feels solid, yet it's mostly empty space between atoms. Your thoughts seem substantial, yet they're made of nothing but awareness appearing as temporary patterns. Your emotions feel so real, yet they arise and pass away like clouds in an empty sky. This emptiness is not cold or impersonal. It's the warmest, most intimate truth of your existence. It's the space in which love arises, the openness in which compassion flows, the vast accommodation that allows all experience to unfold. Like the sky that's never stained by the clouds that pass through it, your essential nature is never disturbed by the experiences that arise within it. As you settle deeper into this recognition, you begin to understand what the Buddhist masters meant by no self. They weren't saying you don't exist, but that you don't exist as a separate, permanent, independent entity. You exist as the sky exists not as a thing, but as the space in which all things appear. You exist as music exists not as a solid object, but as a dynamic pattern of vibration and silence. This is profoundly liberating. If you are not a solid, separate self, then you have nothing to protect, nothing to defend, nothing to maintain. You can relax into the natural flow of existence, like a wave relaxing into the ocean. It has always been. You don't need to make yourself permanent, because you already are permanent. As the space in which all temporary things appear and disappear. In this emptiness, you find the deepest freedom. You are free from the exhausting project of trying to maintain a solid identity. You are free from the fear of death, because you recognize that what you truly are was never born and will never die. You are free from the anxiety of impermanence, because you see that you are the unchanging awareness in which all change occurs. The dance of emptiness is also the dance of fullness. Because you are not a separate thing, you are intimately connected to everything. The boundaries between self and other, inside and outside, sacred and ordinary, dissolve into the seamless flow of existence. You are not isolated, you are the very fabric of reality, temporarily arranged in the beautiful pattern that is your individual life. Let yourself dissolve gently into this understanding now. You are not disappearing. You are discovering what you've always been. You are not losing yourself. You are finding your true self, which is no self, which is the space in which all selves appear and dance and dissolve back into the mystery from which they came. In this emptiness, there is perfect peace. Not the peace of having everything you want, but the peace of recognizing that you already are everything you could ever want. Not the peace of achieving something, but the peace of realizing there was never anything to achieve. Not the peace of becoming enlightened, but the peace of recognizing that enlightenment is what you are. Rest now in this dance of emptiness, where every breath is a small creation and dissolution, every heartbeat a gentle reminder of the rhythm of existence, every moment a fresh opportunity to recognize the miracle of being nobody and everybody at once. Asterisk, asterisk, in the spacious emptiness of pure awareness, something beautiful begins to bloom the garden of awakening. This is not awakening as a distant goal to achieve, but awakening is the natural flowering of understanding, like a lotus opening its petals to the morning sun. In this garden, every experience becomes a teacher, every moment becomes a doorway, every breath becomes a gentle invitation to come home to yourself. The Buddha's awakening didn't happen in a temple or monastery, but in the wilderness, under a tree, in the midst of the ordinary world. This teaches us something profound. Enlightenment is not an escape from life, but a deeper engagement with life. It's not about transcending the human experience, but about fully embracing it with wisdom and compassion. As you rest in this peaceful awareness, imagine yourself in such a garden, not a perfect manicured space, but a wild garden where everything is allowed to grow according to its nature. There are flowers and weeds, butterflies and beetles, sunshine and shadow, all coexisting in the natural harmony of uncontrolled life. This is what your mind can become when you stop trying to control every thought and feeling. In this garden of awakening, you begin to understand that enlightenment is not a state you achieve once and then maintain forever. It's more like gardening, a daily practice of tending, nurturing, and allowing. Some days the garden is more beautiful than others. Some seasons are more abundant than others. But the gardener doesn't despair during winter, knowing that spring will come again. The great Zen master Dogen taught that practice itself is enlightenment. You don't meditate in order to become enlightened. You meditate because you are already enlightened. You don't practice compassion to become compassionate. You practice compassion because compassion is your true nature. Every moment of awareness, every breath taken consciously, every act of kindness is enlightenment expressing itself. Feel into this understanding now. You are not a spiritual seeker trying to find something you lack. You are awareness itself, temporarily forgetting its own nature, playing hide and seek with itself. The search for enlightenment is like looking for your glasses while wearing them. The very one who is seeking is what you're seeking. In the garden of awakening, you learn to appreciate the full spectrum of human experience. Joy and sorrow, success and failure, youth and age, all are flowers in the garden of existence. The awakened heart doesn't try to have only pleasant experiences. It learns to find the teaching in every experience, the gift in every challenge, the opportunity for growth in every difficulty. This doesn't mean becoming passive or resigned. The gardener doesn't just let weeds take over. They tend their garden with love and skill. But they also know when to let things grow wild, when to prune, when to plant, when to harvest. They work with the natural rhythms of life rather than against them. The Buddha spoke of the middle way, the path between extreme asceticism and indulgence, between trying too hard and not trying at all. This is like the perfect touch of the gardener, firm enough to guide growth, gentle enough not to damage the tender shoots. You can apply this same wisdom to your spiritual practice, to your relationships, to your daily life. In this garden, you begin to see that every person you meet is also a flower trying to bloom according to their nature. Some are roses, some are dandelions, some are mighty oaks, some are delicate violets. Each has their own beauty, their own purpose, their own perfect place in the ecosystem of existence. Your job is not to judge or try to change them, but to appreciate them as they are, while offering whatever support you can. The awakened heart recognizes that suffering is not a mistake in the system. It's an invitation to greater compassion. When you see someone struggling, you don't think they shouldn't be suffering, but rather, how can I help? When you yourself experience difficulty, you don't think this shouldn't be happening, but rather, what is this here to teach me? This is the wisdom of the garden. Everything serves the whole. The fallen leaves become compost for new growth. The thorns protect the rose. The rain that seems to ruin a picnic brings life to the plants. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is a mistake. Everything is part of the perfect unfolding of existence. As you rest in this garden of awakening, feel how naturally peaceful it is to stop fighting reality. When you cease the exhausting project of trying to make life conform to your preferences, you discover that life as it is already perfect. Not perfect in the sense of being without challenges, but perfect in the sense of being exactly what it needs to be for your awakening. The garden teaches patience. Seeds don't sprout immediately when planted. Flowers don't bloom out of season. Everything has its own timing, its own rhythm, its own perfect moment of emergence. Your spiritual unfoldment is the same. Trust the process. Tend to your practice, and let the natural wisdom of existence guide your growth. In this garden, you learn to see with the eyes of wisdom rather than the eyes of judgment. Where you once saw problems, you now see opportunities. Where you once saw enemies, you now see teachers. Where you once saw obstacles, you now see stepping stones. This is not naive optimism. It's the profound realism of understanding that everything is interconnected, everything is temporary, everything is workable. The awakened heart is like a gardener who has learned to love the whole garden, not just the parts that are currently blooming, but the soil that supports everything, the rain that nourishes everything, the sun that illuminates everything. You learn to love not just your successes, but your failures, not just your strengths, but your weaknesses, not just your moments of clarity, but your moments of confusion. This is the great secret of the Garden of Awakening. It's not about becoming someone else or achieving some special state. It's about recognizing the beauty and perfection of what you already are, right here, right now. You are not a work in progress. You are a work of art, already complete, already perfect, already blooming in your own unique way. Rest now in this garden of awakening, where every breath is a flower opening, every heartbeat is the pulse of life itself. Every moment is an opportunity to recognize the miracle of being exactly who you are, exactly where you are, exactly when you are.